Two women, both grew up in the spotlight, both have faced intense public scrutiny. Both are rumoured or confirmed to have had cosmetic procedures. And yet our reactions to them couldn't be more different. One is mocked for her appearance, dissected online for years and years now. I would say maybe a decade. The other is celebrated and praised for her successful comeback. But why? Why? What makes us cheer on cosmetic surgery in some cases and mock it in others? Today's video isn't just about judging Lindsay Lohan or Kylie Jenner, it's about us. It's about all of us, the media, the collective we, about the way we as a culture decide who gets grace and who gets shamed, how our perceptions and our biases shape the way we feel about cosmetic work far more than the procedures themselves. I kind of want to look at the double standards here, right? Why Kylie Jenner's transformation sparked ridicule and still does to this day, while Lindsay Lohan is seen as a well-deserved victory. Now, this video is actually inspired by an audience member from when me and my brother did Caroline Hiron's live podcast tour. We did a Q&A at the end, and somebody stood up and asked the question, why do we think people like the Kardashians and Jenners get scrutinized, insulted because of the way they look, but Lindsay Lohan's new appearance is kind of seen as a comeback and is celebrated? And I thought this is such an interesting topic. And honestly, I've been thinking about it ever since. So let's talk about the Kylie Jenner effect. Obviously introduced to the world through Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kylie grew up in front of the camera for most of her life and under the scrutiny of millions of viewers. Even when she was younger, whilst it may not have been about her looks, people often were like, called her annoying. She was a kid, you know, she was a fucking kid. But still people took to social media to air their grievances. So she's had it her whole life. She was just 10 years old when the first show aired. But over the years, as people watched on, Kylie went from the reality show's younger sibling to a beauty mogul with more followers than almost anyone else on the planet and one of the most successful Kardashian-Jenner sisters. And it wasn't just her level of popularity that changed. Her appearance also has evolved dramatically since her early days on the show. And I've made 1 or 2 videos about this, I believe. In fact, it was such a drastic difference that an awful lot of people refused to believe that the change was natural, despite her insistence that she hadn't had any cosmetic work done. People claimed that she had fuller lips, sharper cheekbones, and a completely different jawline, and so on and so forth. And depending on who you ask, what she's had done could range from nothing to everything. And there seems to be a new theory every single year about what she's had done, tweaked or tightened or reversed more recently. I just have to say as well, I don't care. Like, I think everyone should get whatever they want done within reason and by a responsible injector or surgeon. Whenever I talk about the Kardashians, it's always about their branding, and I don't think I ever have attacked their personal looks, unless we're talking about cosmetic surgery, right? And it all started back when Kylie first started getting lip fillers, when allegedly she was just 15. She initially denied having anything done, of course, claiming that it was just overlined lips, leading to a Kylie lip kit. But of course, people weren't buying this, and speculation about what she had actually had done grew over the next couple of years. And this kind of led to the Kylie Jenner lip challenge. Again, another thing I've talked about, which went viral in early 2015. I imagine most of you have already heard about this. If not, check out my most dangerous TikTok trend video, is in there. But seeing as it's something people are still doing on social media to this day, not as much as they were, but they're still doing it. If you haven't heard of it, it involved people basically using the suction from a bottle or a shot glass to artificially plump their lips, despite it being painful and potentially damaging as well. It was a weird mix of imitation and mockery, and basically kicked off a generation of young people both trying to look like Kylie Jenner whilst also making fun of how unnatural she looked. Now, shortly after the lip challenge went viral, Kylie did actually come out to say that she did get lip fillers. No surprise, in my opinion. I thought it was pretty obvious, saying that she just hadn't felt comfortable telling the whole world because it was something that she was insecure about, which is understandable in my opinion. But by then it was obviously like way too late, probably partly because of her fame and popularity, because she'd initially lied about the lip fillers, the internet was primed to question and pick apart every change to her appearance from then on, from small changes to big changes. Memes about her appearance would become extremely common, and videos dissecting every inch of her face and body were everywhere. You know those surgery ones where they guess what celebrities have had done? She's been called out for allegedly getting a boob job, jawline shaving, chin implants, a nose job, a brow lift, Botox, and a BBL, and so on and so forth, etc. And part of the problem here, I guess you could call it a problem, is that she always seems to be denying having anything done at first, even if it seems obvious that she's had something done. And then in some cases later, she admits that she did actually have work done, like with the lip fillers and the breast implants. So now nobody really trusts her when she says everything else is natural, and they just assume everything else is fake. It's no one's business, to be honest, unless you are selling a lip kit. That whole thing was false advertising. I think perhaps the biggest issue here is that she's become like a commodity on social media and society in general. Her appearance has become a blueprint for influencers to follow. The Kardashians made everyone look the same for a really long amount of time. The typical Instagram face, I guess you can call it. Her face is a template for filters on Instagram and Snapchat. And after she had lip fillers, demand for the procedure actually skyrocketed. Clinics saw a massive surge in young people looking for filler lips, with a lot of them specifically asking for Kylie lips. And a lot of people still to this day, a lot of injectors, offer Kylie packages. And then, as I mentioned, she eventually launched her lip kit to profit off the attention that she was getting, and then eventually an entire cosmetics empire. And before long, Kylie Jenner wasn't just a person anymore. She was a beauty standard for a new generation. And that leads to a higher level of scrutiny than most celebrities even ever experience. And this is all made worse, of course, by the parasocial relationships people have formed with her over the years. Millions of people watched her grow up on TV and on social media, and now they feel like they know her. Like she's not just another unreachable celebrity because she was on reality TV. And for some reason, this connection to her makes people feel like they are owed something from her, right? Like they're owed the truth. And they take it very personally if they feel like they're getting nothing in return. Like she's a friend who betrayed them, even though she's never met them. Their lives have nothing to do with each other. So whilst her popularity and public image has spurred millions to copy her look, millions also feel justified in tearing it down, in turn tearing her down. If you've been following me for a while now, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of the Kardashian Jenners in general, but I think it's worth remembering that Kylie Jenner was only 10 years old when her family decided to give the world access to her private life. That's a very, very young age to have your appearance scrutinized by millions of people. I completely understand why she may not always be upfront about what changes she's had or hasn't made to her body or face, because what's going to happen? She'll get further scrutinized. She's going to get scrutinized either way. And yes, there is a discussion to be had about her power as a role model to so many young people who are seeing her changing appearance and feeling like they need to somehow live up to that beauty standard. But I also think that it isn't really the cosmetic procedures themselves we have the issue with. There are so many of celebrities. In fact, I would say like 99% of celebrities who are also changing their appearance pretty drastically, who are setting beauty standards and are seen as role models for young people, but who aren't subjected to the same scrutiny and criticism. So we need to talk about the Lindsay Lohan redemption arc, somebody whose recent transformation has received a very different response. In a similar way to Kylie, actually, Lindsay Lohan has been in the public eye since she was a child, like a child. In fact, she started in the world of like showbiz even younger than Kylie did. She was just 3 years old when she signed up for Ford Models. She didn't sign up, she got signed by Ford Models. You don't just sign yourself up to Ford Models. Sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. And by the time she was 10, she'd appeared in over 60 TV commercials for so many major brands and had landed a pretty regular spot on a soap opera. So yeah, her exposure to public attention and scrutiny up until then wasn't anywhere near the levels of like the Jenner Kardashians, mainly because we didn't have social media, right? But that changed when she landed the lead role in The Parent Trap when she was just 11. The film was hugely popular. It's still to this day an amazing film and led to other big roles in the early 2000s, of course, including Freaky Friday, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, and of course, Mean Girls, which all helped make her like a teenage movie star. So then, just like Jenner, she had quickly become an idol to a generation of teenagers. She was still only 17 17 when Mean Girls came out, but after the film's massive success, she suddenly had paparazzi relentlessly hounding her. Like, this was a time when LA and Hollywood was hugely popular. We're talking Paris Hilton, The Hills, like all that kind of stuff. Britney was going through some stuff. We loved celebrity drama. And soon, Lindsay Lohan became more famous for her personal life than for her movie roles. Her regular partying, her love life, and of course, her appearance. They were constantly dissected in the tabloids. For over a decade, the media and people online, Paris Hilton, mocked her deteriorating looks, her legal issues, and her floundering career. Major news outlets talked about her puffy face, her yellowing teeth, how skinny she gotten, her bleached blonde hair, her alleged botched cosmetic treatments. She essentially became a punchline for a lot of people. She was either completely forgotten about, or when she was remembered, it was to make fun of her. But that all changed very, very recently. Like, Lindsay Lohan's been like on the rise every Christmas. She launches like a great Christmas film on Netflix. But what kind of feels like out of nowhere, Lindsay Lohan was main headline news all over again. But this time, not for anything negative or critical, but because she looks fucking better than ever. She looks great. And of course, people are speculating about what procedures and treatments she might have had to, sorry, I got like a sticker stuck on my foot. Speculating about treatments and surgeries or procedures, whatever she might have had to achieve her new look. But it wasn't in that same cruel, judgmental way like it used to be, or like you see with Kylie Jenner. It was more that people were like surprised, almost admiring, and even fascinated by her transformation. Again, because she looked really good, like really, really good. And instead of that old negativity, now people and media outlets were saying she was glowing, flawless, and aging backwards. They're calling it a comeback, a redemption, a glow up. In fact, people were so amazed and impressed by her new look that some even started wondering whether or not there was some kind of like new secret procedure or treatment that only the rich and famous in Hollywood knew about, especially seeing as several other celebrities have since had a similar dramatic transformation. I've also even seen like people on TikTok being like, oh my God, it's Illuminati, she sold her soul again. But this video isn't about what Lindsay Lohan has or hasn't had done. It's about why we criticize some people for having cosmetic surgery and other procedures, but we praise others for doing the exact same thing. Lindsay Lohan's transformation, as well as the transformations of Demi Moore, Christina Aguilera, Donatella Versace, and even Kris Jenner literally this week, aren't being treated like it's a scandal or desperation, or like a sad mistake. It's being treated like a beauty breakthrough. They're being praised and looked at as aspirational, which again, I don't care. I think they all look great. More power to them. But why are these transformations seen as success stories while Kylie's is ridiculed? What's the difference here? Because it's clearly not just about the procedures themselves. There's a double standard, obviously, and I don't think it's as a straightforward answer. I think there are a lot of reasons why we see these transformations so differently depending on who it is that's changed, you know? Firstly, I think one major reason for this, especially when it comes to Lindsay Lohan, is that we love an underdog. Kylie Jenner, to a lot of people, has always been seen as somebody who had it easy. She grew up rich, famous, and surrounded by privilege. She launched an alleged billion-dollar beauty brand out of that fame and privilege. So a lot of people don't feel like she's earned anything. She has really, like, you know, she already had it all, and we're far more likely to tear down people who we view that way. Lindsay Lohan, on the other hand, faced similar issues when she was at the height of her success. She was successful from a young age, and she was ridiculed, torn down, and picked apart for years. It wasn't till she had like a fall from grace, according to the media, that she started to be seen as an underdog. So when she came back, apparently having sorted out her issues purely based on her new appearance and looking incredible, people felt like it was earned somehow. Instead of just a successful person continuing to be successful, we'd seen Lindsay Lohan struggle. We had seen her fail pretty badly too. So it became like a story of redemption for a lot of people. Her glow up wasn't just about her appearance, it was more emotional than that. It was something that people actually connected with. Her transformation isn't perceived as vanity like it is for so many other people, but more as healing and maturing. I think another big factor here is how we perceive their authenticity. Kylie and her family in general, let's be honest, are often perceived as inauthentic because they are in basically everything they do, especially when it comes to promoting product. When it comes to their heavily filtered reality TV show, to their social media posts, almost everything about them feels branded, curated, and scripted. And when someone's entire image feels and looks like a performance and not the real them, then it's easy to start thinking that their physical transformations is just part of that script, you know? Like, it's not about growth, it's not about healing, but just another marketing strategy and just another thing for a rich person to do. For a lot of people, it feels like everything they do is just funneling you down to make money from you eventually, kind of thing. It seems like they always have something new to sell and that they're always selling out, especially when it comes to your appearance. I think people are tired of it. It doesn't feel like they've made changes to the way they look because they felt insecure about something, even if they actually were, bearing in mind, again, they are highly scrutinized themselves. But despite that, they always find a product to sell that will help you look the way they do. It feels manipulative, like every new version of themselves is being sold to us for profit, despite the fact that we know that new look is because of a cosmetic procedure, and not because of some gummies. Lindsay Lohan, on the other hand, feels far more authentic to us, maybe because of all the very public mistakes she's made. She feels more flawed, I guess you can say, and relatable. Her flaws are normal and relatable. She isn't part of some celebrity family empire. Her issues and problems weren't just part of a storyline for TV, and her comeback, at least at first, wasn't part of a product launch, at least at first. Although, as of yesterday, Lindsay Lohan has actually revealed recently that she was working on her own beauty line. There's some interesting quotes about her new faces thanks to flaxseed and juice, but we'll talk about that in a separate video. So it'll be interesting to see if people's perception of her transformation changes with that news, which I think it already is. I also think that Lindsay Lohan's fairly long absence from the public eye has played a part in how we see her transformation as opposed to Kylie Jenner's. The fact that Lindsay Lohan basically disappeared for years created a sense of distance and mystery, which almost kind of promotes the idea of reinvention, right? When someone disappears for ages, it's almost expected that they would have changed drastically. They're not gonna look how they used to. Kylie Jenner, on the other hand, has never stopped being in the public eye because she's so present on social media, campaigns, all that kind of stuff. We see every little change as it happens. Ultimately, I think it comes down to the story surrounding the person and the transformation. The story surrounding Lindsay Lohan's transformation is one of resilience and reinvention, whereas Kylie Jenner's transformation can kind of be seen as strategic and kind of undeserved. And that itself leads to another question. Why do we feel like we get to decide if someone's physical transformation is deserved or acceptable? So to attempt to answer that question and to really understand the different ways we react to aesthetic transformations like Kylie Jenner's and Lindsay Lohan's, we have to talk about cultural beauty politics. To be clear, when I say cultural beauty politics, I'm not talking about how someone's political beliefs may affect their beauty ideals. Check out my clean beauty right-wing video if you want to know more about that. I'm talking about the ever-changing line between what we consider acceptable and what we don't. It's like we have this unwritten rule book about how beauty should be done, and if someone doesn't follow those rules, then they get ridiculed and criticized. For example, small tweakments, acceptable, subtle filler, perfectly fine. We all get it done nowadays. Natural looking enhancements, positively encouraged, especially when they're framed as part of self-care or aging gracefully. But it's the more dramatic changes that we seem to have an issue with. Lips that are slightly too large for the person's face, exaggerated curves, visible surgery, that crosses the line. Suddenly too much is desperate. It's fake. This is where I guess internalized misogyny plays a major role. And as a man, I hate talking about this, but it's because let's be honest, I don't face this ever. Ever. But it's interesting to comment on. We've all been raised in a culture that rewards women for being beautiful, but only in ways that feel effortless, humble, and appropriate. So when someone like Kylie Jenner is seen to be working too hard at being beautiful, changing too much, spending too much money, trying too hard, then we judge her. We judge her as vain, even manipulative, even insecure. But what are those judgments really about? They are about control. We expect women to meet impossible beauty standards, as we know, and then we turn on them when we see them trying. We the collective we, not me, want beauty to look natural, even when it's not. We want the effort to be invisible. This is kind of like back in the day when women were expected to wear makeup and look good all the time, but you're also called a prostitute if you wore makeup, you know, it's that kind of thing. So in the case of Lindsay Lohan and Kylie Jenner, Lindsay Lohan gets praised for aging gracefully because she looks so natural. Her changes fit our idea of acceptable, society's idea of acceptable. They feel tasteful and restrained, but someone like Kylie Jenner gets dragged because her changes were too big, too extreme. Ultimately, we're not just reacting to how these women look, we're reacting to how well they play by the unwritten rules. And those rules are not only constantly changing, but they're deeply misogynistic and riddled with contradictions. And there's another layer to this as well. It's noticeable that the kind of changes that are seen as acceptable or not acceptable in these unwritten rules also happen to be divided by different racial beauty standards. Enhancements like thinner or smaller noses, delicate lip filler, skin whitening, and eyelid surgery to change the size or shape of your eyes are all seen as acceptable, even classy procedures because they all fit into white beauty standards. But enhancements like fuller lips, exaggerated curves, and BBLs are often seen as trashy or fake and are also called so by the media. They also fit into traditionally black beauty standards, and I don't think that's a coincidence. And I'm not just talking about when white people make these changes that don't fit into the unwritten rules. There are plenty of white women who've been accused of appropriating black culture for adopting features that are generally associated with black beauty standards, including Kylie Jenner and the Kardashians, who's received plenty of backlash for this. And that is obviously another reason why she's received more criticism than someone like Lindsay Lohan. And understandably so, especially when black women have historically been devalued and mocked for having these features naturally. We have someone paying for it, appropriating it, and then marketing it. But I don't think the cultural appropriation aspect of her transformation is the whole story. Because there are more people who criticize her appearance without calling it cultural appropriation. They just see things like the fuller lips and the alleged BBL and they call it fake and trashy. So I think these aspects of beauty politics definitely have a part to play in our perception of certain celebrity transformations. Both women are being judged by unwritten standards of the culture we've grown up in. And because of that, Kylie is mocked for trying too hard and looking fake, while Lindsay Lohan is praised for reinventing herself and aging gracefully. The truth is, our reactions to celebrity transformations often say a lot more about us than they do the celebrities themselves. We praise one woman's glow up while mocking another's fakeness, often without realizing that our judgment is actually shaped by something other than the procedures that they've had done, like how much we like them, how authentic they seem, and how privileged we think they are. Cosmetic procedures aren't just what happens in the clinic. Our perceptions of them are filtered through everything we experience, including beauty standards, race, class, gender expectations, and our own internalized ideas about who deserves to be beautiful and who doesn't, and in what way. As I mentioned, I'm all for people doing whatever the hell they want. I don't think aging gracefully means you can't touch yourself in any way whatsoever. I think aging gracefully means making the most of what we have available and what makes you feel comfortable and what makes you feel good, whatever that looks like. Yes, it's a privilege to age, so do that however the fuck you want.